And we are back with you live once again on another Johnny Torch live broadcast. On the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Torch News Roundup. We've got a roundup coming up for you. Last week I tried to do a video, but it didn't quite work out. There was some kind of technical glitches with the audio and the visuals, so I couldn't get any images on the screen. The sound was fading out. I'm not sure exactly what the problem was, but that is why there was no video last week. And we are going to try to rectify that today with a Torch News Roundup. Not a whole lot of news, really. That's why I kind of I didn't try to force another video out within the past week, because there really isn't a whole lot to talk about. But we have some important announcements in the world of Bullets Bourbon, which is something, of course, near and dear to my heart, which is what we were trying to talk about last week. We are going to try to talk about it this week, so the Torch News Roundup is going to take a back seat for a few moments. But first, let me admonish you to hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button. We got a couple of new subscribers. Unfortunately, it looks like we also lost one, so I'm not sure if that's has something to do with YouTube or if someone dipped out, but make sure you're still subscribed. I know now why a lot of people are saying that in their videos, because it seems apparent that you take one step forward and two steps back in this on this platform. At least it seems like every single time I get a subscriber, I'll lose one or two. So if you haven't subscribed, it really would do me a solid if you'll hit that subscribe button and be sure to like these videos. It's nice to see some likes once in a while. I get a couple of views, but not enough likes. So show me that you like the show by giving me that thumbs up. Okay, if you don't like the show, give me a thumbs down. Just show me that you're at least paying attention, right? That's all that matters. Really, that's all that matters. Okay, so we have a fairly warm June 1st on this lovely Saturday afternoon that I get to spend with you for about an hour. Before we get down to business, let's take a look at the poll of the week question I've got up for this week. I try to get these up every once in a while, and this week we've got some new gods news that we're going to be talking about momentarily. And the poll of the week, which you can find on my Twitter page in the link in the description below, the question is, which of Jack King Kirby's magnum opuses, I believe that is correct, it's not opie, as I think some people would expect it to be, but which of Jack King Kirby's magnum opuses are you looking forward to seeing on the big screen the most? We have two of them coming out within, I don't know, about a year of each other, I guess. Both based on comics that was completely unfettered Jack King Kirby. Kirby kind of had similar themes with both of these, as sort of a race of gods or demigods that sort of populated their own corner of the galaxy and so on and so forth. Can't say I'm really that interested in either of them, but first, the question. Which of Jack King Kirby's magnum opuses are you looking forward to seeing on the big screen the most? The MCU's The Eternals or the DCEU's New Gods? There are only two choices, of course, so with 42 votes and 4 days left, so get in on this, you still have plenty of time to vote. The New Gods is winning with a 10% lead. New Gods at 55% and the Eternals at 45%. I am going to say New Gods I would vote for if I could vote in my own poll, which for some reason you can't on Twitter. I don't know why. But New Gods I'm familiar with because they push them heavily in the DC animated universe, particularly Superman, The Adventures of Superman. I was getting sick and tired of seeing Darkseid, to be totally honest with you, but I'm familiar with those characters, and I genuinely like those characters. The presumption, I suppose, is that we're going to see Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, which, of course, would be a lot of fun. Darkseid and those characters. I'm familiar with them all. Granny Goodness and come on, Granny Goodness has to be cast as a man. Ever since they used Ed Asner's voice in Superman the Animated Series, they have to cast a man. This is the perfect opportunity. The Eternals I know very little about. I know nothing about them, I don't really know anything apart from um, again, I think that it's sort of the same concept of being some sort of demigodish race that is in their own corner of the universe, playing out the battles of good and evil. Uh, I'll probably see it again. I don't really know much about the Eternals, so it would have to wow me. It would have to win me over. I think the reason why, because everybody says, "Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy was an unknown commodity, and just the diehard cosmic Marvel fans knew about it, so that was good." Yeah, but two things. One, they didn't really stick to the original concept all that much. I mean, they kind of made it as I always referred to it, a profane comedy. I'm not sure that's exactly what Guardians originally was in the comics. So they could win me over if they show me a really spectacular trailer for the Eternals, but chances are they're not going to stick to whatever the original concept was entirely for such an unknown commodity. Probably it'll be good. I mean, we're also at the point, this is the second reason, is we're at the point where Marvel is starting to get a little long in the tooth. Let's be honest, they're getting a little SJW, and they've kind of been around so long they think that they can do no wrong. And it kind of feels like they're slipping, to be totally honest. I think they're slipping a little bit in quality. So again, this is not really you know, a shot at them so much as, let's keep the screws tightened. Let's not get too carried away with ourselves that we can do no wrong. Because honestly, they've had a couple of duds. Um Not awful movies, but certainly not up to snuff as their original, the first phase. I think you can see the steady decline, in my opinion, from the first phase to the second, and from the second to the third. But that's not to say that, you know, they're completely washed up. They could really tighten the screws and really do something really nice with this movie. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. All right. Also, make sure you check out in the link in the description below my website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. You get to see my comic there. And let me open this up first, and we will talk now briefly about this for a moment, which I've been trying to do for a good uh, over a week. Here we are. We have The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye for the first time on Indiegogo. Yes. The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye is the story of a down on his luck private eye who takes on the most colorful collection of villains imaginable. As you can see right here, Carrot Top is one of them. Pickle Puss is his lackey, his Man Friday, so to speak. It's a term you don't hear anymore, huh? His Man Friday. Um, but we are full go here, and this is the team up issue. It is a 3-issue story arc that we are putting together in graphic novel format for the first time ever. And it is the team up between Carrot Top and Pencil Neck. Carrot Top, the diabolical genius, and Pencil Neck, the mad as a March hare, but equally enjoyable antagonist of Bullets Bourbon. And the plan is for them to conquer the world with an eraser head missile that Carrot Top has designed using Pencil Neck's amazing powers. And we also have another villain here. Let me see if I can scroll down. There he is. Sour Note, who is uh he's sort of a henchman to Carrot Top, but he has his own interests. He has kidnapped the beautiful Desiree Miller, who is Bullets Bourbon's object of affection in this story. Sort of the lovelorn detective private eye that he is. You get to see this unrequited love story play out, and will it be requited? That is the question. But he's certainly up against it this time. Bullets Bourbon up against 3 of his most deadly villains in one story, one climactic story to change the landscape of comics as we know it. Of course, this is going to be a 60-page extravaganza, and as I said before, this is sort of my my inspiration for Bullets Bourbon came from the 80s action shows that I grew up with, the A-Team, Knight Rider, and some of the 70s stuff that I watched in reruns as well, such as, Battlestar Galactica, classic Galactica, The Incredible Hulk. And so basically, as a child, I had all the great action heroes at my disposal. That's when the best of everything came out in the 80s. Let's be honest. Whether it was comics, whether it was television, whether it was movies, it all came from the 80s. So I tried to keep that flavor very, very much in this show. And I pretty much view it as the comic book adaptation of an 80s show that I would have wanted to watch as a kid. So that's the media that I was able to master. I couldn't go out as a kid, and I know a lot of people did this, but try to do their own movies of Indiana Jones or something. No, me, I learned how to cartoon, and I drew these adventures as a teenager. And of course, as time went by and I blossomed into cartoonist excellence, I put these ideas on paper for an unsuspecting public. Okay, so also my art style, it's always surprising to me. I hear a lot of guys that are, my age, were influenced heavily by stuff like Todd McFarlane and um, maybe not Liefeld as much, but me, I went the other way. I went to Bruce Timm. I went to the cartoony style, the Batman the animated series style. Ty Templeton was a big influence on me from the comic series of Batman the animated series, Gotham Adventures. So that was my influence artistically. But here we are. We have the 60-page collection of the 3 issues in When the Night Comes arc. And we've got 10 days left, so time is of the essence. I'm probably gonna extend the campaign. I only had it for 3 weeks. I know that's usually about 30 days is the idea. I haven't been able to push this very much and advertise it or whatever as much because I've got so much going on really right now that this wasn't really a great time to do this. But I might extend it if I see some interest. We have 10 days left, but I'll probably extend it by a week or two. All right, so we have the perks here. Let's check them out one by one. The first is the simple bare bones autographed copy for 20 bucks. That includes shipping and handling. Um, gonna pack it up real nice with boards, and you'll get it in pristine condition. Not to worry. And of course, it will be autographed by yours truly. Uh, as we go up now to the $35 tier, we have the book in what I call the swag bag. The swag bag is a magnet, a couple of stickers, and I only have a limited amount of posters. But I know for the first half dozen backers, I can guarantee you a poster. I don't know how long that's going to last while supplies last, as they say in the commercials, but I feel pretty certain that you'll get one. The magnets and stickers and posters are going to be random covers of the issues or pinup art. There's 1 or 2 pinup art ones I think I made as well. So it is not going to be choice. I'm just going to randomly select them. Okay, at the $50 level, we have the book, the swag bag, and the first 3 issues. Now, if this goes well, if the campaign went really well, we would try working on the first 3 issues and getting them together as a graphic novel. That is a larger undertaking. I would have to completely recolor the first issue to have it match and remaster it and reletter it. In this case, the When the Night Comes saga here, it needed to be relettered in the first issue, and that has already been done. And I had to recolor and touch up a lot of the second issue in the arc, which again is taking up a lot of time, but we're nearing the end of it, of the production. So as I say in the on Indiegogo, it's virtually risk-free because the work is 95% done. I've got like maybe 5% more to do. And then it goes to the editor who's going to have the PDF files put together. So, maybe roughly 95%. I've got like 3% maybe to do, and he's got 2% to do. These will be magazine sized. We're going to try doing the magazine format because this is going to be a special collection. So I wanted to differentiate it from just feeling like you've got another thicker book. So this is going to be bigger size, show off the artwork a little bit more, make sure the font is really a lot more poppy. Uh, it's going to be a lot of fun. And so on the $50 level, you'll get the first 3 issues, which is the introductory issue, which introduces Carrot Top as his main nemesis. It's a self-contained story, and it's called It's Always Something, which is sort of the story of my life, and that's why that is the name of the first issue. The second and third issues are the 2-part story of Pencil Neck, how he was uh, brought into the series, and his first dealings with Bullets Bourbon, where Bullets is framed for a crime he didn't commit by Pencil Neck. And it also introduces Detective Scotch, who we have there on the right in the beige raincoat. That's sort of the more traditional looking raincoat. That's why he's got that one. It's always fun to write Scotch because he's quite honestly, the anti-bourbon. He's sort of like the opposite of what Bullets Bourbon is. And he's always cracking wise at Bullet's expense, which makes for a lot of fun. I like to write their sort of Hope and Crosby-esque exchanges. That's one of the highlights I get from getting Scotch on the show. He's sort of a rogue. You know what I mean? He's sort of the likable rogue. All right, let's see here. The $75 level, you get the book, the swag, and a T-shirt with the cover of the When the Night Comes issue cover on it. And this, of course, is not available anywhere else. I know I have some T-shirts available on my Zazzle store. You can check that out in the website. But this is one of a kind. It's going to be a limited edition, so you might want to look toward that. And for only the most serious collectors, we have at the $100 level a sketch cover by yours truly, and there'll only be 5 of these because I've got so much to do. I really don't think I could really devote any more time to it than that. But I'm giving you your choice of exactly what you want me to draw on the cover. It has to be characters from the Bullets Bourbon universe. I mean, if you're going to ask me to draw Superman or something, I'm going to politely decline. Not that I can draw him, but this is the cover for the Bullets Bourbon saga. So there you have it. And once again, I'm very happy to try my hand on Indiegogo. As I've said before, I'm trying only for a $500 goal because I realize you got so many other choices out there. There are so many other creators doing amazing things, particularly in Comicsgate right now. I want to try my hand. I'm not expecting, to become a multimillionaire from this. It's satisfactory for me to be able to just deflate the costs of just putting the book together, and I'll let the the uh, I'll let the work speak for itself. I think that's kind of the issue I'm having, is that you need to get people to take an interest in the work, and so far it's not the easiest thing to try to you know um, put yourself out there in advertising. It's difficult to get somebody to pick up a product sight unseen unless you are being backed by somebody. If you're having uh, people behind you that are recommending you, and so far I don't have that. So you can be the first. You can be the first to discover the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon and put it on the path to success. Once again, we've got about 10 days left. I might extend it a little bit, but um, anything is welcome. Any amount you can pledge is welcome. And I'm just very thankful and very grateful that I'm able to, do what I love. And especially at a time like this when you have computers and the internet and everything at your disposal to basically make your own comic. And I always tell everyone, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I started, I I'm self-taught. I started by trial and error. I worked first with markers and pencils, and then I worked my way up to learning how to use computer coloring, digital lettering, which I'm now mastering. And now that I've got pretty much a handle on everything, that's when I want to, remaster the last three issues in the saga, make a nice little collection out of it. And then, of course, we're going to go onward and upward always. Excelsior, as Stan Lee would say, because we have the story that's coming up after this one. And if you've already bought it, which I don't think many people have, but if you've already bought the last issue of the series so far, When the Night Comes, Act 3, you will see that our next story is going to be called The Family Jewels. And we're going to be introduced to Carrot Top's father. Yes, Carrot Top's father is going to be one of the main characters. So check that out when it comes out. We're going to be working on that after the graphic novel is done. I'm pretty sure that will be within the next 2 weeks. I don't want to be held to that. I still got to proofread the first chapter because I reletted it and I need to proofread it before sending it to the editor. And I've got maybe 2 more days of touching up the art and making sure that it's, color corrected, um, all the dialogue balloons, which was kind of an issue with that second issue. It was the dialogue balloons being very out of place and so forth. So I had to fix them up. All right, so that is what we're doing here. Thank you very much for your support. Okay, so next up is the Torch News Roundup, and we will get cracking on that one with our first story as soon as I can find it. All righty. Here we are. All right, let's see. We have now, let's see. Let's start with the first story here. The first story is that apparently, according to Forbes, Robin the Boy Wonder will likely be involved in The Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman. It says here, there are indeed plans for the Penguin and Catwoman to appear, and they will be joined by new versions of the Riddler, Alfred Pennyworth, and Commissioner Gordon, which presumably means we can expect Jeremy Irons and J.K. Simmons to be recast for the reboot. Robin is also among those expected to appear. So, on the one hand, it's understandable that they're going to want to try to reboot this thing. They're not going to treat it as, because obviously Robert Pattinson is a lot younger than Ben Affleck. Thankfully, this is not going to be an origin film, so we are going to be able to get a Robin in the movie, which is something that I've been looking forward to since Batman and Robin, since that film bombed. I've been wanting to see the Bat family on the big screen. Hopefully we can get them all together at one point. Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl. I'm hoping that if this is true and they are using Robin, that they do start with Dick, though. I hope they start with Dick Grayson, because that's where you start, especially since Pattinson is relatively young. I forget how old he is. He's like 28 or something. That's about the age where I think that you can introduce a young Dick Grayson, a young 14-ish maybe year old Dick Grayson, 13, 14, and have him mature alongside Pattinson. So by the time we're 10 years in, Pattinson will, be in his late 30s and we'll be able to have this kid be like 23 or something, 24, and be, Nightwing age. Apparently, let's see here. This is a different story, actually, but they are saying that Matt Reeves wants to make this a trilogy. So again, that'll probably take place over like about 8 years. Hopefully they could spin him off also as well, Pattinson's Batman, into further Justice League and stuff like that. But I see, this is the reason why I think we're not going to get another Justice League movie. I have a feeling that, see, this is very difficult because some people are suggesting also this is going to be like a 90s Batman movie. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to keep the Snyderverse intact. What kind of problem does that pose going forward? The problem is Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Obviously, they're not going to recast, but they are already tied to Justice League and Batman v Superman. So it's going to be pretty hard for them to sort of shake off those connections and work with Robert Pattinson. So I think Pattinson's Batman, or Reeves' Batman, is probably going to exist outside of that continuity. And again, this bothers me because I would really love to have, a cohesive DCEU. I really don't want to see Batman off on his own in his own corner of the DCEU and then have, the rest of the DCEU, which I don't know, may or may not have Henry Cavill's Superman. That's something else we haven't talked about. Now, we haven't had Cavill's Superman addressed in a while, but we didn't even have the confirmation that he was still in the universe during Shazam, which I don't think is a spoiler at this point. So, it's kind of hard to see where they're going to fit this in going forward. Are they going to make I don't think they can actually make this a reboot because, like I said, they've already got too many chips bet on Wonder Woman and Aquaman being outright successful. Aquaman making $1 billion. You can't go back on that now. But it's also shenanigans. How are they gonna, they could rejigger the universe. A lot of people were saying that they could do that with a Flashpoint movie, which, yes, by the way, I haven't heard anything about that. The Grant Morrison allegedly was going to be Grant Morrison, Ezra Miller working on the script for the Flash, which I don't think was going to be a Flashpoint Paradox feature, but it would be interesting to see where they could go with that. All right, I'm going to grab a bottle of water because for the first time in 155 episodes, I don't think I prepared the water for the show. So just give me a second. All right, I am back. All right. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you want this to be a side corner of the DCEU that has nothing to do with the DCEU at large? Do you want to hold on to... I don't think there's a possibility, but the chance that Affleck maybe will come back and reunite sort of the Justice League, or do you want to just sort of play it by ear and see if they can contrive a way to get Batman back with the Justice League and the other characters? It's certainly, you know, changing tides or whatever metaphor you want to use over there in the DCEU. Um, Cavill is still, of age where he could be a contemporary of, I think he's a couple of years older than Pattinson, but it wouldn't look completely, ridiculous to try to plug him into the Justice League. But I don't know. I don't really know how they would do it at this point. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. And let's see. It says The Batman is expected to arrive in theaters June 25th, 2021. So we probably should be getting some more casting news pretty soon. I know the rumor going around is that Vanessa Hudgens is either up for Catwoman or wants to be Catwoman or something, sort of in shades of what was it, Sean Young, I think, was back in the original 90s films with Michael Keaton, was trying to get the role of Catwoman before it went to Michelle Pfeiffer. And I pretty much feel the same way here as I did then. I didn't see Sean Young being a great Catwoman, and I don't see Vanessa Hudgens being a great Catwoman. No offense to her. I actually did really like the show she was on. I can't remember it now. What was it called? A couple of years ago was the sitcom of sort of like Superhero Cleanup Crew or whatever it was called. And I thought she was really good in that. I mean, I think she's good as a, sort of a comical actress. I mean, she kind of got her start as the teeny bopper type Disney Channel stuff. And if I was her, I she would should stick to that probably, right? But yeah, I mean, let me know what you think too. Do you think that Vanessa Hudgens would be a good Catwoman, or should we find somebody perhaps a little more in the Michelle Pfeiffer vein? There really hasn't been an actress that has, brought that kind of oomph to Catwoman since Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, you know, uh, Anne Hathaway, nah, didn't do it for me, not at all. I mean, it was written a little bit better than Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman because they had the thing of her actually being a cat burglar and not just a psycho. But I didn't feel anything for Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. And of course, I guess we had uh, Cameron Bardakova. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but and she was fine as the young Catwoman, but we really haven't gotten the real live action incarnation of Catwoman since Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm really really hoping and pushing that they're going to find somebody who's going to fill that role. My choice traditionally within the last 10 years has been Olivia Wilde, but when they're going with an actor as young as Pattinson and Wilde is what, she's about 40 now. I mean, she probably would have been fine during the Affleck era, but I don't know. What do you think? Who do you think should play Catwoman? Maybe she could still play it. She still looks great, but it's probably not going to happen at this point. All right, we're going to stick to the DCEU news here now. And this story came out not too long ago of Matthew Vaughn talking about his take on Superman. Now, I was really excited at the time because when it was said that he was trying to pitch a film for Superman, um, for one thing, I didn't realize it was Postman. I thought it was Postman of Steel, not Pre-Man of Steel, which this report makes it sound like it's Pre-Man of Steel. But after the success he had with X-Men First Class, I thought, yeah, let's give him a shot. He seems to have his head on straight when it comes to superheroes. But according to Polygon, the first installment of Reeves' trilogy would have taken place almost entirely on Krypton, with a focus on Jor-El and the planet's impending explosion. Superman was actually going to grow up on his home planet before it was destroyed, and that would have meant we'd see him maturing into an adult before having to reckon with his loyalty to both planets. Again, this sounds awful. It sounds terrible. I don't understand this. We would have Superman growing up to adulthood on Krypton and have loyalty to both planets. See, this is where people for some reason don't get that you can't mess with Superman's origin. A lot of people want to for some reason, and I don't get it at all. I don't know why. Because I was talking last time about Robert Pattinson being Batman, and then a lot of people are doing petitions to have him removed when generally it's official now. He's going to play Batman. And I say, well, let the fans vent their mind. They want to vent over this. They don't like it. Let them. Usually doesn't mean anything. There was the one time it did mean something when it was the film that J.J. Abrams wrote for Superman back like in the early 2000s. There was an outcry almost unheard of, and the petitions went like way way into the thousands or the hundred thousands, and it got that film removed from contention. And in it was the same thing. It was Krypton doesn't explode. Lex Luthor is a Kryptonian. I don't know. Superman was going to have a kid die, and then somehow the kid was he was gonna live on through the kid. It was really terrible. And then we got Superman Returns, and it's like fans won't accept that. You can't mess with the story of Krypton. And I think another problem he has here, Vaughn, is the same problem that Snyder had, which is Superman, as much as they try to focus on this in the comics as well as in other media, Superman is not an alien. People, try to force that on him. And let me, clarify that if you don't understand what I mean, but he was raised on Earth. Some people would say he was born on Earth because of that crazy stuff that John Byrne did in the 80s, that he wasn't like technically born until he was born on Earth, which I never liked Byrne's take on Superman with that and all that stuff. It seemed, really bizarre to me. But Superman has no memories of Krypton. He is not loyal to Krypton in as much as he is loyal to Earth. He is loyal to America. That is something that they are taking out of the Superman lore. Going back as far as Superman Returns, where it's truth, justice, and all that stuff, they don't want to make Superman an American anymore. I don't understand that. That was one of the great things about the original Reeve films, is that Superman was seen as an American icon. It was Superman reflects all the great ideals of America. And that goes back to the early comics as well. I mean, the Siegel and Schuster stuff. The idea was that Superman was an immigrant. He comes from another planet. He's raised in the ideals of America, that everyone's free, that everyone's equal, that everyone has rights. And as he grows, he protects those rights. And on the side, he also has a culture that he learns about from, you know, from the Fortress of Solitude, Jor-El, whatever way you want to try to bring that forth, you can bring that forth. But that's an important component as well. It shows that he is still bringing with him stuff from the old country, you know, sort of the way we all do. I mean, my culture is from Italy. And so, of course, we bring some of that with us into our American experience, even though we were not born there or our parents weren't born there. And in many cases at this point, our grandparents weren't born there, but we still carry over some of those lessons from where our ancestors came. And that's sort of the same thing with Superman. He's not supposed to be a dyed in the wool Kryptonian. He's a dyed in the wool Kansas boy. He's a dyed in the wool American. If you want to play with that concept, that's what Supergirl is there for. That's what Kara is. She's torn between two cultures where she was old enough to remember what Krypton was like. She was a teenager and she came over to America, to Earth, and had to learn how to adopt the new customs and so forth. It's a different, a horse of a different color. I mean, you have two different avenues to explore with these two characters. But that's one of the problems. I don't know why, people don't want to. I guess it's the left. I mean, it's kind of a leftist ideal where it's like we can't really be proud of America anymore. It has to be, well, he's an alien, and only Americans only hate aliens. They hate illegal aliens. They hate aliens from space. America hates. America hates, and that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? That wasn't the ideal of when Superman was created. The idea was the embracing America, embracing the ideals of America, and standing for the values of America. But now everything has to be politically correct. There has to be, there'll have to be some kind of, like Supergirl's TV show, there'll have to be some kind of swipes at Trump or, the right, or whoever is standing for, anti-illegal immigration. So it's very sad. Vaughn reportedly told Polygon that he won't rule out the possibility of returning to the DCEU, despite talks with them breaking down on a couple of occasions. It'd be hard to say no, he said, regarding the possibility of working on Superman on film again. So, as long as he throws out that idea and, comes up with another idea, that's fine. Do it. But until then, nah, don't do it. One of the problems is they 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 seem to have like overthought Superman. And I don't know why, because Captain America is so popular, and they didn't even have to really play up the patriotism too much in order for him to be popular, because he's a man that stands for principles, Steve Rogers. He has his principles and he stands on them. And that's basically what Superman is in a nutshell as well, except he's got, godlike powers. But if they just play up the fact that he's a man that stands on principle, it's not hard to write a Superman film. Also, like I said, I think they overthink the power set. It's like, don't try to nerf Superman's powers. You should be giving him a greater challenge. You know what I mean? We don't really see him going all out and exerting himself against anybody in the movies anyway. He seems to handle it pretty well, which is fine, but then you have people like wanting to nerf his powers because he's having too easy a time of it. Uh, Comments below. How do you feel about Superman in the movies? How do you feel about um, Matthew Vaughn's take, letting him grow up on Krypton? Doesn't sound kosher to me. We'll talk about that more, I'm sure, in the future. Okay, so next up, we've got some news about Suicide Squad 2. And as it shapes up now, Joel Kinnaman is cast in Suicide Squad 2, right? Everybody was saying this is the reboot of the franchise. This is the completely new take by James Gunn. And so far, we're assured of everybody's return, I think, except Will Smith and I don't know, what is it, Killer Croc and Katana. Well, Diablo died, so I mean, he ain't gonna come back. But so far, we're confirming almost everybody back. I mean, Margot Robbie's back, I'm pretty sure. So Rick Flag is back. Joel Kinnaman took to social media to reveal that he's working on Suicide Squad 2 and is actively training for the movie. This may go some way in debunking theories that the original cast members will be all killed off in the opening few minutes, opening the door for a new, quirkier team of villains. Now, that's not the way to go. I hate when they do that. I hate when movies do that or TV shows. It's like, let's resolve the whole first movie by cleaning house in the opening 5 minutes of the second movie. It's like, they did that with G.I. Joe Retaliation, where they killed off Duke in, like, whatever it was, first 15 minutes of the movie. I don't like that. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're gonna, just don't have that close of a tie to the first movie. Just be like, oh, this guy went off and did this thing. This guy went off and did that thing, and we're left with these guys. You know what I mean? You don't need to just like clean house, like, because it feels manufactured. Now, if you want to kill off Rick Flag, like in the third act or something, if it serves the story, always service the story first. But don't just be like, well, we need to clean house in order to get the stage set for the. No, you don't do that. You got to let things play out. If it serves the story, kill someone, but don't force it in the first 15 minutes of the movie. That's where Wrath of Khan got it right, because originally I think the plan was that they were going to kill off Spock. I don't remember if it was the first act or the second act. I think it was the first act, and then they would just like move on. And it's much more rewarding to like have a death scene take place where it matters the most. You know what I mean? So yeah, there we go. Suicide Squad 2 continuing underway. All right, so next up we have some more movie news for the DCEU. Yeah, we got a lot of DCEU news here. Not the best quality image I could find, but uh, obviously we have New Gods. We were talking about this earlier in the show. Tom King has gotten the gig to pen the script for New Gods with director Ava DuVernay. This was first reported by the Wrap before being confirmed by DuVernay herself on Twitter. Let's see. King won an Eisner Award for his work on Mr. Miracle and is going to be involved with bringing Jack Kirby's creations to the big screen. All right, now we don't talk a whole lot on this show about the comics because honestly, I don't read them anymore. They're way too expensive, which, as somebody who's a cartoonist and a comic book creator, you kind of don't want to have to admit that, but they are. I mean, my disposable income, I can't go buying $20 a week of comics and have them be at the poor level of quality that they are. Now, I would give them a shot were they a buck or two. That's what they were when I was a teenager. They went from like whatever they were, 175 to $2 over the course of my teenage years, and I was happy to pay it. And you still pay, you probably get about $10 worth of comics a week and still, not feel like you're being gouged. So now that they're like $4 or $5, that's why, you know, a public endorsement for me for Peter Simeti's Alterna Comics. That's the way to go. And he's able to price them at $1.50, prices that you haven't seen since probably the '80s. And I'm seriously looking into that for my own comics. I'm working on the graphic novel now, of course, which is going to be um, the standard paper and stuff like that, and not newsprint. But that's really the way to go, I think, in the future going forward. I think you have to use the newsprint as the entry level tier, the entry drug, or if you want to be base and talk about it that way. But the entry drug is basically cheap, and that's what comics were supposed to be. They're supposed to be cheap entertainment. I mean, that's not to belittle the quality of the storylines, but it was supposed to be something that you can get on the fly when you're in a supermarket, when you're in a newsstand, and things started getting that we got so precious with the comics. We want to make them collector's items, and there's got to be 15 different covers, and there has to be, 30,000 different imprints or whatever. That they could only be found in a comic book store. And I believe in supporting the local comic shop, so don't misunderstand. But the idea to me is that you get the entry level comic, the $1.50 comic. It gets you interested. You start reading. You become a fan, and then you're willing to go and get the collections. Like, for instance, what I'm doing now with When the Night Comes, the Bullets Bourbon graphic novel. You get the individual issues out cheaply, and if you enjoy them and you read them over and over again and get them dog-eared and all worn to shreds from enjoying it, then you go and get the graphic novel where you get the whole collection together as one set. And it's something that lasts. That's the collector's item. That's the thing that you go back to and refer, a nice big book on the shelf. So yeah, that's kind of the state where comics are in. It's in a sad state. Now let's go back to Tom King. Obviously, he's had problems with the fandom, with the course he's taken over the Batman stories he's been writing. I believe he was promised 100 issues to tell his Batman story, and in them there were a lot of things people objected to. There was a underwhelming Joker arc, I believe. Bruce Wayne uh, coming out as an atheist. Batman falling in love with Catwoman and getting left at the altar. Batman punching Robin. I think it's the Tim Drake version. So a lot of fans have been sort of with Tom King's take, and he was dropped from the book. But he was subsequently picked up to finish his storylines in a Batman and Catwoman um, book series, I guess, miniseries. I'm not sure exactly how far that goes, but apparently, he's not a fan favorite. So I don't know how to judge how he's going to do New Gods. But then again, he supposedly won an award for Mr. Miracle, right? So how bad could he be on New Gods? I'm afraid to find out. But let me know your take. Also, Ava DuVernay. I don't know. She didn't have much luck in the past either, and her last project being A Wrinkle in Time, right? And that also bombed. So these guys are not really, they're on the comeback trail. They're not really, you know, coming off of winners, but I don't know. Let's see. Let's have some hope. Like I said, I'm more interested in the new Gods film than the Eternals, so this is the one I'll probably definitely check out. So let's hope for the best, right? That's all you can do. Okay, so let's see. We're winding down here. Let's take a look at. Let's see. We have some images that have been released on the Black Widow movie. The Black Widow. We're finally getting over to the MCU now. The Black Widow movie. Let's see. A solo movie. Let's see. According to MCU Cosmic, production trucks for a film whose working title is Blue Bayou have been spotted in Cebu, Norway, as has star Scarlett Johansson. Location will reportedly serve as Natasha's childhood home. The project has long been suspected to be a prequel about how Clint Barton turned Natasha Romanoff from the dark side. However, some weeks ago, Sebastian Stan let slip that the film will take place between the events of Civil War and Infinity War. If true, it seems that Natasha, while a global fugitive, will take the time to revisit her past. A very likely scenario is that Florence Pugh's character will prove to be Yelena Belova, Black Widow 2 from the comics, who Natasha will turn to the side of the Angels as Clint did for her, with Pugh taking over the lead in future post-Endgame set sequels. So that's an interesting speculation, an interesting hypothesis that they're opening the door for Black Widow 2. Now, again, the way it's been, in the comics is they've had like these second generation characters. They made every single Marvel hero a legacy character, which I am totally against. But apparently they're going to do like next generation characters here, and this film is solely to set up a next generation Black Widow, which in my opinion is disrespectful to Scarlett Johansson because they waited so long. They waited so long to give her a movie, and now they're going to sort of give her a torch passing, film. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. She deserves a trilogy the same way they're going to give one to Captain Marvel and then they gave to the male heroes, if I may sound, shockingly feminist. But yeah, I don't know. How does this sound? How do you think this sounds? Does this sound like a good idea? Should they just give her her actual own honest to goodness film and not set her up with a um a character to pass the torch with? I don't know. I don't know. All right, she's gone shopping. It looks like at the joint. I don't know what that joint is, what it is, but yeah, she does look, or at least her hair looks kind of reminiscent of, between that period between Civil War and Infinity War. She had that kind of hairstyle, I think, more in Civil War. So this could be the case. Um, I'm guessing probably too they're going to show us the origin of the blonde hairdo and why she had that in Infinity War, because I honestly didn't get that. I mean, if Cap wants to grow a beard, it seems like it makes more sense, but she sort of like dyes her hair blonde and cuts it short. It kind of came out of left field to me. I don't know. All right, we got a couple more images here. I'll show them just for the sake of showing them, but you really can't see much. Um, let's see. Lifesaver jackets. She's walking behind some kind of, I don't know what this is, a pier or something where I don't know what it would be called. It's like a reservoir tank or something. I'm not sure. And there's one more, and we will be happy to pass on any more behind the scenes photos of Scarlett Johansson that we can find. Is that water there? I'm guessing. I don't know. Maybe there's some water action here in this film. I don't know. But there you have it for the Black Widow film. Hopefully they give her due. You know what I mean? Let's not just make it a torch passing and then ship her off into Obscureville. That's going to make it even more disappointing and more depressing. All right, coming up at the end of the story. Oh, my goodness. coming up to our last story here, the end of the broadcast, let's take a minute to talk about Rambo 5. First Blood Part 5, titled Rambo Last Blood. And the trailer came out, as I'm sure you're all well aware, and this does look very much like Stallone getting into Rambo psychology again. How many times have we seen Rambo with that expression? I'm glad he still has that expression, even in his senior years. And, there's not much to say about the trailer. It doesn't betray very much at all of the storyline. The film comes out September 20th, so I imagine we'll get one more trailer maybe around the time of the film opening. But yeah, looks interesting. It looks exciting. I didn't see him with the bandana over his head. What do you call that? The headband? He needs to have the headband. I don't think he has the headband in this one. Rambo needs the headband and the knife. That's what you need. If you don't have the headband and the knife, you're not being Rambo. So come on, Stallone, make sure that headband is in there before this film goes to theaters. Uh, I had a amusing reaction when I seen the film, the trailer. My tweet was, he fought in the jungles of Vietnam. He fought in the deserts of Afghanistan. But his greatest battleground will be his Montana barn. Because it looks like basically it doesn't look like anything I've been led to believe what this is going to be. It looks like he's basically one of those movies that I don't know what you'd call them. Not really horror movies, but they're like horror movies where there's like somebody comes to the abandoned home and nobody lives there and they have to like sort of fend off the invaders. It's kind of like what this is. I don't really know. It doesn't seem like Rambo. The synopsis says Rambo goes after the I don't know, Mexican cartels that I don't know, kidnapped his neighbor's daughter or something like that. I don't have it right in front of me. And this doesn't look like Rambo ever leaves the plantation. You know what I mean? He's at his acreage there, riding a horse and playing cowboy, and then looks like he goes into town, gets surrounded by guys with guns, and the next thing you know, he's like building death traps, getting his bow and arrow ready, getting the knife ready, going after some scumbags, which is fine. But I mean, I don't I don't see the story here. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't seem to follow what we were led to believe. So yeah, again, this is because, like I said, the temptation has always been to get these films more and more gory. I like the first two Rambo films, First Blood and Rambo Part 2. 3 was okay, but boring. That was like when they were trying to do something serious with Rambo, like, you know, the, they're trying to make Rambo an epic, and it's not really something, Rambo is not meant to be Lawrence of Arabia, you know what I mean? The Rambo is just like an actioneer, you know what I mean? Rambo 4 just got too gross and bloody, and like it was kind of, it was over the top in the worst way, not in a good way. This one I think is going to take it back a little bit to its roots, where it's not going to be over the top, but I hope it's not going to be overly gory, because I don't need to see guys' heads exploding and stuff. I mean, that's just me. All right, so there we have it for another Torch News Roundup. Thank you once again, one and all, for showing up, and show a little love if you can by hitting that like button, smash that subscribe button. Make sure you share these videos with each and every one that you come in contact with, if that's not too much to ask. Let's see. Make sure you check out the Twitter page in the link in the description below to vote on this week's poll of the week question. Which would you prefer to see first, the New Gods or the Eternals films? Make sure you check out our link in the description below for our website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. And you will find on that page the Indiegogo link, so that you can check out. And I think I'll even put the link to the Indiegogo here at the bottom of this page. But chances are I'm probably going to do another video specifically for the Indiegogo. But I wanted to make sure I got some info out about it because I tried to make 2 videos solely talking about the Indiegogo, and I had problems both times. So at least we got it on record this time. So until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.